In this lecture, I want to talk about multi-paragraph. It doesn't matter whether they're blog posts or they're essays or entire books, but let's make it short so that we can just talk about a few paragraphs in support of one another. Now, I want you to notice how this section has evolved. We started with words and spaces, and then we did punctuation so that we could get to sentences. Now, sentences are complete thoughts. And then if you string together several complete thoughts about a particular topic, then you have a paragraph. Well, the next logical evolution is to string together several paragraphs to discuss one common idea. And the standard way to do that is the essay. By the way, I was so bad at English that when I hit college, I was forced to take bonehead English. And we pretty much did nothing. We did nothing but write sentences for the first part of the course, and then we wrote paragraphs, and then we wrote 3-paragraph essays, and that was the entire course. So it's pretty much what this section is, and I thought it was the best course I ever took. It turned me into a writer. So let's talk about how to string together paragraphs. And just like you have topic sentences for paragraphs, you have topic paragraphs for essays. So let's say we want to talk about container gardening again. So let's begin with container gardening is superior to traditional ground-based gardening in several respects. So that's our opening paragraph where we kind of lay out in the very first sentence what this little essay is going to be about. Now, the next paragraph, we're going to have supporting things, and then it probably wants this to be hyphenated, yes, ground-based. And then the final paragraph, we're going to have our closing arguments where we reiterate things. So let's put a few things in here. Container gardening is low cost and low maintenance, requiring little space. Container gardening is also the best option for the elderly and other people with mobility limits. So there, we give some arguments for container gardening. Now, what we can do is in the subsequent sentences, or paragraphs, we can expand on our supporting arguments. So we begin, container gardening costs less because there is less involved in setting up the garden. The cost of a pot is far less than that of a rototiller or other traditional gardening equipment. Container gardens also require less water, soil, and fertilizer. And then maybe we'll bring in one on due to its limited scope, container gardening. What was the second? So we did the expense part and maintenance. Gardens require less maintenance. As a result, you'll spend less time working in the garden while deriving the similar benefits. So see what we did. Now, finally, in the final paragraph, it will say, all things considered, container gardening is worth considering especially if you're a beginner gardener or have limited space or mobility problems. So here, once again, we kind of restate our original argument in the final paragraph. So how does this start out? We have a topic sentence for what this essay is going to be about. Container gardening is superior to traditional ground-based gardening in several respects. And then we give evidence to that in the paragraph. And then we elaborate on the evidence on the next two paragraphs. And then we have a concluding paragraph where we restate our argument and give it, just a little bit more push going out the door. So this is typically the way that you write blog posts or whatever it is. In the blog post, it's going to be your first paragraph where you establish what the blog post is going to be about. And then you give the supporting evidence for that, and then you conclude, once again, by stating it. It's the same as an essay. So it's a little bit different in writing nonfiction. Or fiction. You're not usually trying to make a point as you are in nonfiction, but I wanted you to make the next evolution beyond paragraphs and consider how you're going to put your paragraphs together to string thoughts beyond just the paragraph to maybe a chapter. So the chapter would be the fiction equivalent of an essay, where you're trying to get several paragraphs together and you're trying to tell your story, and you have a lead-in going through, and you usually want to end with a cliffhanger on the chapter to make sure that the reader reads the next one. So that's multi-paragraph essays or blog posts, whatever you'd consider them, arguments. And that's the end of this section. In the next section, I think we're going to get into advanced writing techniques, which is foreshadowing and cliffhangers and all of those things. I'll see you in that section.